it is my great privilege to present the 2013 Saul Stetin Award in Labor History to Marcus Rediker, Distinguished Professor of Atlantic History at the University of Pittsburgh. Professor Rediker's extraordinary transatlantic and cross-cultural studies of sailors, slaves, ship captains, and pirates in the 18th and 19th centuries forever reimagined labor history. Most labor historians study the landed workforce within a nation's boundaries. Professor Rediker, in contrast, devoted himself to the transnational study of Atlantic world and to what we might call the floating workforce. He undertook to see the world and worker movements from the perspective of the world's first modern proletariat, and he succeeded magnificently. All his award-winning books, and there are several, combine meticulous, unsurpassed scholarship, manifold poetic and narrative gifts, and a fierce, incendiary rebel spirit. They are stunning achievements. In his book, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, and other works, we see how 18th century sailors of all races were ruled over by arbitrary and often capricious masters who held the power of life or death over their crew. Sailors were more slaves than free, and their struggles to win rights and social recognition fuel the emancipatory efforts of peoples throughout the whole Atlantic region in the great revolutionary upheavals of the late 18th century. Indeed, on Professor Rediker's account, we are well within our rights to say that in 1776, when Tom Paine used the language he had learned in Philadelphia's dockside taverns to instruct his American countrymen how to demand independence from the king, he was merely teaching them how to talk like sailors. Further, one might say that Professor Rediker wants us all to talk like sailors, talk that sounds like curses only to the heartless and the overbearing. We are all deeply indebted to Marcus Rediker. With great love, labor, and imagination, he has returned to us, in the words of Robin Kelly, the revolutionary dreams and rebellious actions of those whose stories, until now, were lost at sea. It is with great pleasure that the committee bestows upon him this award. Eva Rediker, Marcus's daughter, will accept the award tonight on behalf of her father. Eva?
Hello, my name is Eva Rediker, and I'm here to accept the Saul Stetin Award in Labor History on behalf of my father, Marcus Rediker, who's currently out of the country. He has asked me to read the following statement. It is a great honor to receive the Saul Stetin Award in Labor History from the Sidney Hillman Foundation. I thank the judges, Dorothy Sue Cobble, Joshua B. Friedman, and Joan Suarez, and I thank my daughter, Eva, who is reading this statement. She is a public school teacher in Spanish Harlem and a proud member of the UFT. I, in turn, am very proud of her as she follows in a family tradition. Her grandmother, my mother-in-law, Judith Goldman, taught at the Lower East Side Seward Park High School and served as a UFT steward for decades. I might add that my wife, Wendy Goldman, grew up in the Amalgamated Clothing and Textile Worker buildings at FDR and Grand, across the street from the Sidney Hillman buildings. She also worked on the J.P. Stevens campaign led by Saul Stetin. For these reasons and more, the Stetin Award means a lot to me. The reason I am unable to be with you this evening is that I am currently in Sierra Leone working on a History from Below project. I think Saul Stetin would have approved. In November, I published a book entitled The Amistad Rebellion, an Atlantic Odyssey of Slavery and Freedom. This was about a famous and successful slave revolt aboard a Cuban slave ship in 1839. All of the Africans on that vessel came from Sierra Leone, so I came here to give lectures and hold public discussions about the meaning of the rebellion. Next week, I will travel to the villages from which several of the Amistad rebels came to speak with elders about what they may know about the event. I have no doubt I will come home with a new and expanded understanding of my own book. It also means a lot to me that the judges think that my work has expanded the very conception of the field of labor history. It is true that 30 years ago, when my work began, most historians did not think of deep-sea sailors as part of the working class. "Oh, you work on those marginal people," they would say. I bristled and said, "Maybe marginal to the narrow definition of the working class you use, but they were certainly central to the rise of international capitalism." Then I played a trump card. Who do you think invented the strike? That's right, sailors who took down or struck the sails of their ships in London in 1768, crippling the world's largest port city and creating for the working class a new kind of power. In the end, I would like to think that the Stetin Award honors these workers, free and unfree, whose struggles must be remembered if we are to imagine and build a better, more humane world. Thank you.